Hi there everybody! Welcome back to my channel. I'm Alice Takeover. Today I want to shed some light on one question that's been looming over the model photography industry. Where are the new models at? And for the rare circumstances we do see promising new faces, they typically prefer to make OnlyFans pages instead of becoming full-time models. First off, I want to put you directly into the shoes of a young woman in today's day and age. As we've all experienced, business was booming before the pandemic. Women who decided to give modeling a try during this time found a lot of success. The economy at this time was absolutely booming, and there were two ways that models could have gone into the industry. They could have become agency signed, or they could have become freelance. Agency models had loads of work opportunities since brands were hiring from the agencies quite substantially. Freelance models were having great streams of income from booking tours, and they could schedule full tours without having to worry about cancellations. Once the pandemic hit though, everything changed. Everyone's schedules were wiped, and no one knew what they were gonna do in order to stay afloat in the industry. However, there were a few models that diversified their income online before the Great Shutdown, and so those models were still able to turn over profits. These models were selling content on fan websites such as Patreon or OnlyFans. Because of this, a lot of other models started to catch on, and soon, most other models who had never considered selling online content before decided to also hop on the bandwagon. And so here we are, present day, 5 whole years after the pandemic lockdown. Some models decided to stay on fan website sales full time. Others decided to take up what we call remote shoots. These are models who set up a camera that are rigged to some sort of software system on their computers that allows photographers to take their photo from a distance location over the computer screen. Other models went back to full-time in-person modeling with fan website sales on the side most of the time. I honestly don't know if any model makes their sole income from modeling alone at this point, and I'll tell you why. When I was modeling pre-pandemic, all of my tours were always fully booked with no cancellations. Nowadays, my tours are no longer the same. Where I used to receive 0 cancellations, I now receive many cancellations since returning back to full-time touring. And I know I'm not alone because I've talked to other models about the same circumstance, and a lot of them are experiencing a lot of cancellations on their tours. And as far as events and workshops go, this is where things get really interesting. When I was in my early 20s, I was always a headliner. I was always pulling the highest amount of income during events and workshops. And so nowadays, I'm still a headliner. And I really shouldn't be. And that's not just my ego talking. I'm saying I should be an experienced model who is there to help guide the newer headliners if they needed advice or insight while they're working at an event or workshop. Headliners are usually 21, 22, 23, or even 24-year-olds, but we're just not seeing any new models that are in their early 20s entering the industry. Unfortunately, we've seen a heavy decline in the number of models that want to join the industry. And most of the models I see who are still touring and attending these workshops are in their late 20s, 30s, and sometimes they're even in their 40s. There is undoubtedly a model shortage going on right now. And the reason I know this for a fact is because when I go on tours and I talk to photographers one-on-one, they always express their frustration about how hard it is to find new models to work with. Everyone seems to understand that it's because the newer generation of models wants to focus more on online sales versus becoming full-time in-person working models. So the big question is, why do these newer models want to start making more online income versus going to in-person photo shoots? Once upon a time, becoming a model was the ultimate dream for beautiful women. Walking the runway, gracing magazine covers, and being the face of luxury brands was all the rage. But since the pandemic, we're now facing the following problems. Large companies and brands are not what they used to be. Many large companies used to be prestigious to work for, and models used to be proud to say that they were a part of bigger companies. Nowadays, the large companies have faced brutal scrutiny from the public on all sorts of topics, and many of them are guilty for exploiting the models that work with them. Many aspiring models are choosing not to associate with these outdated brands, and they want to take back their control instead. Agency models would often move to freelance work, as freelance modeling has a lot more creative freedom than working under an agency. As a freelance model, you have freedom of creative expression, and there's no limitations for your appearance. However, with that said, many photographers who hire freelance models have societal beauty standards imprinted in their minds that make some of the models more popular of a choice for photographers to hire than other ones. I'd say about 95% of the demographic of photographers are indeed men, and they don't usually see eye to eye creatively with a model who's usually a young woman. Because of this, many female models get burnt out after they've been creating for their clients, bringing their visions to life, but while suppressing their own. Not to mention, some photographers don't have the best intentions in mind, and usually older male photographers working alone one-on-one with younger female models can sometimes create an uneasy power dynamic. And unfortunately, it's not unheard of that photo shoots can become dangerous for young female models. This of course depends all on the photographer's intentions, but not every photographer does have good intentions. The freedom that online sales brings to young women is unmatched by brands or photographers. First and foremost, models receive instant income from online sales. Instead of waiting months for a paycheck to come from an agency and skipping all of the unpaid time it takes to book tours, and then crossing your fingers and hoping that you get paid after photo shoots are completed, women can start earning immediately with fan website sales. Plus, the amount of money that can be made with online sales is completely unmatched, with some models making 6 or 7 figures a year. Models have full control, no agencies and no photographers. The women creators decide what kind of content they create, when they work, and who they interact with. Models avoid controlling agencies that tell them how they should act, how they should look, how they should pose, and more importantly, models completely avoid working with people that they wouldn't otherwise choose to work with. If models also avoid working one-on-one alone with photographers, they also avoid creative burnout. And the model also completely cuts out the possibility of a dangerous encounter. Social media has also played a huge role in this great shift. Instead of hoping to be discovered by a modeling agency and then being a part of big brand names in order to be recognized as an important and relevant model, women can now build their own followings on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, Twitter. Once they have an audience, promoting an OnlyFans page is super easy and often way more profitable than modeling gigs. Of course, there's still a stigma attached to fan website sales such as OnlyFans. Some people judge women very harshly for making these career choices, but at the end of the day, it's all about financial security, safety, and peace of mind. Many women feel that the freedom and money that fan websites offer greatly outweighs any of the negative outside opinions. Basically, it's the mentality of, if you're not paying my bills, then your opinion doesn't matter. I do believe agency modeling will always be a thing because brands are always going to need to promote their products in order to sell them to the general public. But what about freelance modeling? Unfortunately, I do foresee the freelance model photography industry potentially collapsing, and it very well could happen in the next few years unless we as a community do something to prevent that. So what can we do in our industry to engage these newer models to want to be a part of the model photography industry? Well, unfortunately, for starters, our economy is going to need a major turnaround, which that's something outside of our control, unfortunately. The whole world economy is something that's completely out of our control, but what we spend our money on is under our control. Photographers have to be willing to pay for professional models' time, and unfortunately, as prices increase on everything else around us, so do the models' rates. I understand that for many photographers, they view model photography as a hobby and as a more elective activity. I do want to challenge that thought process though, because in order to make life more meaningful, we do need art to surround us. Art inspires us and art drives us. If we don't value and spend the money on the things that we enjoy, then what's the point in making money in the first place? I do want to remind all the photographers out there that are watching this video that without economic flow into the model photography industry, the freelance modeling industry is going to cease to exist, without any doubt in my mind. As much as you may hear other models complain about the way that they are negatively treated at photo shoots and how their creative vision is never aligned with the photographers that they work with, rest assured they do still appreciate working with you, or they would have quit a long time ago. And they also would have taken up fan sale sites or some other avenue of income. I want to bring an understanding to you that even deep down in these models' cores, that for the models who complain and moan and groan, deep down in their core, it's them crying out for help. It's the best way that they know how to express that frustration, and that they wish that there was some sort of industry change that would happen in order to make things easier with bookings and going forward with photo shoots and overall creating art with photographers in the industry. As a community, we need to come together and find these places of mutual ground where we can understand each other a little bit better. Photographers need to start aligning with their creative vision with the models as well as indulging in their own. Photographers also need to be more understanding of why models charge the rates that they do. And above all, photographers should always treat models with respect and integrity. And if you do happen to come across a model who's extremely unpleasant, don't let that experience be a reflection across all the models that you want to work with. I promise you, many models are positive and excited to work with photographers. Under more pleasant working circumstances, we would see more new faces join the model photography industry. The modeling industry is constantly changing. The power is undoubtedly shifting away from the agencies, brands, and photographers, and more towards the creators themselves. I do hope that the freelance modeling industry never disappears. And at this point in time, it's completely up to the photographers to see if this industry is going to survive. If you're somebody who's interested in more things model photography related, feel free to subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to give this video a like if you found it insightful. And please feel free to share it with your friends in the model photography industry. Thanks again for tuning into today's video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.